1, 2, 3, 4.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That's right, the big dick is here. Get ready.
This is Tastemakers.
May we start?
All right, guys, welcome back to another Tasty Tuesdays. Today I have Achi Kushnir.
Yes, that's me.
Yeah, I said it properly.
Yeah, very well pronounced. It's not an easy task, and you're starting on the right foot.
Yes, right on. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. It's an evening here in Tel Aviv in Israel, and it's a great honor to be here on this show. You know, I've been following the things that you guys are doing, and of course, we have also a friendship that goes back in time. So it's always good now to reminisce about the years that had passed and catch up, like you said, and tell a little bit about my personal journey and personal story.
Yeah, we do have a past. We can talk about it a little bit later. Since we met probably was it 2006, 2005?
Correct. Yeah.
At Arizona State University. But those are long days gone. But we can talk about it a little bit later. You have been on a wonderful journey, which didn't just start last year or the year before. I've seen your videos. This has been work in progress when you were in university as well. But let's just start first give a little introduction, who you are, your background, and then we'll get into what the amazing things you've been accomplishing over the years.
Sure, with pleasure. I've actually been into a very interesting lecture last week, and people said something really interesting, that when you need to introduce yourself, you introduce yourself by things that society tells you you're supposed to. What is your profession? Where do you live? What kind of car do you have? And this guy was saying, people need to be defined by the journey that they've had, by the people they have touched, by what what makes their eyes glow. And I was thinking about it when you're just telling me now, because the normal answer would be, yes, I'm a medical engineer, I live in Israel. But I ask myself, is by what I'm defined? And thankfully and rightfully, I think that I am defined by a special path and journey that I've undergone ever since I was a student, that brings me still here after 15 years. And maybe this is something that is better defined by me. So if we don't get too philosophic here, I am a medical engineer, and let's go by the rules first. And I'm 42 years old. I was born in Australia and spent my life between Israel and Australia. And along this path, I had a life-changing experience back in the days when I was a student. I had the opportunity to initiate a project in underdeveloped country, very poor settings in rural villages in Papua New Guinea, which is an hour flight from Australia, but a completely different world. And in a way, that experience has really changed a lot the way I looked at life and the course of my life, and brought me to where I am now, also 15, 16 years down the path. I have to say that I had a very interesting journey, because I started with something that was very meaningful for me. I understood me and my colleague, we started a project in rural Papua New Guinea to supply and provide redundant medical equipment with knowledge on how I can maintain it and run it. And the first time that you realize how much impact you can make as an individual in a place that if you're not there, if you're not helping the people there, no one will. So this is a really, a strong feeling and something that it's difficult to continue with your life after you experience that. And that was something when I was very young and in the beginning of my career that, stayed very deep inside of me. To make the long story short, we wanted to set up a whole program there whereby we were given a land and also a building to start a health center. But unfortunately, everything had to be frozen because of lack of fundings because of the financial crisis in 2007, 2008. So each and every one of us had to go into the regular path that we're supposed to, that society expects us to go. As an engineer, get a good job, progress step by step, make more money, buy a home, start a family. And I was in that path. For 15 years, I was in the Matrix. I've got a really nice title, director of director of medical applications in the medical device industry. But I have a nice salary, nice conditions. But having that memory of 2007 when you're 23 years old, and that you can make something else, something different with your life, and you can impact and empower others. That feeling was really still strong 15 years down the track. And together with the circumstances of COVID-19, which made a lot of people realize, hey, what's going on here? Where are we going? We get only one shot at life. We better do it properly, and not just. For me, I was living and going to work every day, and getting safety financially and security. But what was I giving back in return? My passion, my independence, the ability to fulfill my dreams, and is it worth it? That was the question. And am I going every day to work in order to fulfill the board of directors, the CEOs, all these people that are running the show? And you have to ask yourself, it's never going to be difficult to take the leap. But at the same time, it's never too late. Even though I had something 15 years ago and now I am in my 40s, I decided that, I better do it now in my 40s rather than really regret it when I'm 80 and, hey, there's nothing much to do when you're 80, right?
Right. And then what gave you that interest to do that when you were in 2007 to go to Papua New Guinea?
Yeah, well, that's a good question.
How did that start?
Because it's really important for me to communicate that I think that it's not something unique about me. I think that the opportunity was there. I came with an idea, and I cared about someone that could make use of that equipment. And I thought there's definitely something that could be done about it. And then, off you go. You go and you search for a community. You start to get people involved, and one thing leads to the other. But what I'm trying to say is that what I'm trying to do now after this journey is to tell young people that, sometimes if you have opportunities like that come across, or you have ideas like that, take it in both hands, because it can change the course of your life. So I think it was a combination of circumstances, luck, and perhaps maybe that I'm a guy that is more compassionate and more, care about the other, and that helped me out. But I think that anyone who would been in this place with me, Papua New Guinea, from no matter background, no matter what country, would have changed the way he would see life, would change him, and could take a different path completely, a course of a path for his life. So that's why I'm thinking, everyone has the potential to do it. They just have to set the opportunities right and identify them, because we are all human. By definition, human is humane. So any human is humane. So that's good enough to have the basics, the DNA to do good stuff in the world.
And then when you mean by redundant medical equipment, can you explain that?
Yeah. So basically in the private health sector in Australia, so private hospitals, they have big budgets, and every 4 to 5 years they need to replace the equipment, even though it's in perfect working condition. And then it's just ends up as landfill, so it's also a problem to the environment. And just because of that, it's such a waste of a resource. And also, I've been to those places where there's a desperate need. So the fact that it was redundant equipment, and also, it's not too sophisticated. You're not bringing an X-ray or an MRI or a microscope, that one little thing breaks down and the people are going to be clueless on how they're going to fix it. You bring something that is, quite simple to maintain, to manage. It's mechanical, nothing without any too much software or electrical components. And that's the funny thing, not the funny thing, but that's the amazing thing. I finished my journey in Papua New Guinea this year, and I managed to see that all that equipment, because it was redundant and basic and simple to use, was still being used there. And if it wasn't there, the people were like on the floor with, conditions that are really sad to see. So it was actually, back in those days, it was the right thing to do. It proved itself. It's sad that things had stood still for these places. Nothing happened, but at the same time, something that young students were pushing for is still making a difference. So yeah, that's a good lesson, to learn, that sometimes you don't need much to make a difference. You just need to care and to say, I'm gonna do something about it. Let's take the initiative. Let's see what will happen.
So what kind of equipment were implemented or were you put into these places then?
Yeah, so we're talking about mechanical beds, for example. Imagine a woman that's just giving birth on the floor, and in non-sterile conditions, and we have beds and mattresses, and you have wheelchairs, basic blood pressure pumps, suction pumps. Suction pumps are very basic equipment that, if a baby born is suffocating, this is a little device that can save a child who was just born from dying. So these sort of basic devices that are making a difference there, and again, doesn't require a lot of resources or capacity to manage.
Are there organizations doing something very similar to what you're doing right now? Because it seems like if these medical facilities have to give away this redundant equipment, you would think you could use this in all parts of the world. Do what what you did.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the thing is that it depends, because I wish it could have been very easy to do that, but there are going to be a lot of different elements and politics in terms of how the country is being managed, and customs and hurdles and challenges. But there's definitely, I know a number of organizations that this is what they do, and they even transfer equipment which is even more sophisticated with knowledge to give these remote and neglected places the ability to, thanks to that, have a better access for medical services. Here with us, it was the idea to make it simple and basic, but it requires, this was also one of the challenges, it requires a sustainable model, because, you need to find a way that that you're not dependent on, we did some fundraising and we recruited an amount of money that allowed us to go there twice and implement it. But also a smart way to do it is to find really a business model where this whole thing can sustain itself by, somehow the locals are making a better living, and then they can participate and be part of it in an active way. So these were, one of the things that I've learned from that project, that you don't want to be dependent on money that is coming from the outside. You want to be able to have something that runs on its own. And if you're not there, the locals still going to be able to manage it on their own.
So it was a pretty thorough process, like training.
Basically.
Yeah.
And when you come to remote villages, so you don't have these professionals. So you have a guy that he's kind of the mechanic. If they have some cars, sometimes they drive. Someone from the outside comes. If they have any basic mechanical, electrical components, and they got this know-how from the big city, but they came back to the village, so they're kind of the handyman, and they know. Oh, you have to train a nurse about all these things, because again, they don't have the manpower or the capacity to do it. People that are trained just for that. So in the village, in the villages and the rural area, it's a different story from what you see in the big cities. In the big cities, you still will have some sort of accessibility to knowledge, to universities, but that's where the need is critical, when it's remote and far and isolated.
So how long were you working then 15 years ago? How long was that?
Yeah, well, that was about a bit more than a year and 2 months.
So you were going back and forth, or were you?
Yeah, we were basically, we went, we did an assessment trip. We had to form the relationships there. We find exactly where is the place that we can implement it. When you go to settings like that, the number one aspect that is going to make it or break it is who is your partner. Who is the local person on the ground that you can count on. And we were very lucky to meet Monica Otto, who is a local village woman, but she actually got education in Australia, and that's how I knew her. She studied in my university, and she married an Australian guy. But amazingly, she said, okay, I can live here very comfortably in Australia and have a nice job, but who's going to look after my people in the remote villages? And she decided to move back there and live her life there, even though she has family and children back in Australia. And she's changing lives of tens of thousands of people with knowledge in agriculture, women empowerment, and I can really relate to that. That people can make decisions. I will live the normal life that I'm expected to do, or I will go against the status quo and I do something different, but that could last and make so much impact. She was very inspirational, and she was the reason why we decided to go into her village and start this relationship with her.
And when you went back 15 years, were all those same people? You reunited with all those same people, a lot of people that you met 15 years ago?
Yeah, it was funny. It was very emotional, because she brought me to her village where she was born, and the people 15 years ago, we did visited that place, and they did a whole reception, and the head of the village, I still have food, because I was actually quite ahead of time. I was going with this big video camera. So I have footage from there. That's the funny thing. Yeah. I have footage of that head of the village. And a guy, he's like 20-something years old. He's got 3 children. And he came to me when I was just there now, and he said, I remember you as a teenager. You came with this, your friend, and we looked at you guys, and the first time we see an Asian guy, my friend was from South Korea, and a white guy, we just didn't understand what or who are these people. They've never seen a white guy and an Asian guy and together in these remote places, and they remembered us. They said, I remember you with this enthusiasm and everything you brought and the energy, and it was something very big for us. So it was funny because the little kids and the teenagers back then, they are now grown up individuals, and they do remember us still.
Yeah, you can talk about that enthusiasm and energy. You bring, if people check out any of your social media or anything you post, you have this amazing energy that you share with other people. You carry a JBL speaker, just to sum it up, JBL speaker walking around the village and encouraging people to dance and have a good time. How did that start?
Yeah, well, again, I mean, I don't go with only dead fish, they go with the flow. And when I was leaving on my journey, my friend told me, you need to buy this big backpack, this specific one, because it's 800 grams lighter. And trust me, when you'll be going for 1 year, this 800 grams is going to make a big difference. And I was saying, screw this 800 grams. I'm bringing with me this bag and a 7 kilograms JBL boombox speaker with me. And people are like in the beginning thinking this guy is lunatic. What's he doing? And how is he carrying all this? But that was the best purchase of this trip, because to go around and this is something that connects to the people that I saw in the villages and in the markets. They have so much their happiness, pure happiness, and they are living the moment, and they are enjoying themselves, and it felt just natural to put their own local music, and you kind of go back to become the child you were. And in Africa, the settings allow you to do it so easily. Here in our modern life and Western society, we are as children who are curious, who are happy, who are, trying new things without any limitations, and laughing and shouting and dancing. Somehow, during the course of our life, we just, we shut down. We start to cover us with mechanisms of protections, and then we start to be too serious, and we don't do anything because what people will say, how it would look like, all these sort of things. And going back to Africa and Papua New Guinea, you kind of feel back. The child is coming, the child in you is coming back. And the boombox was just so amazing because these guys naturally, they have this happiness. So it's so easy to trigger it in them the moment you put in this music. And I believe in creating happiness. And when I see people who are happy, makes me happy. And I started this movement with the boombox. Everywhere I went, I decided to put the local music for the people and get them, go wild and dance and sing, and that was amazing. And I think it's part of what this whole thing was for me. Happiness, living the moment. Don't give a shit about what other people say, and suddenly so many people start to follow you, so you don't look like something is wrong with you. If people now don't join you, something is wrong with them. So you change again the paradigm, and that was amazing. It was the best 7 kilograms I had to buy in my life. Yeah,
you're probably right though. Like if it was in any of these Western cultures, everyone would think you're a lunatic, like you said. You're like, that's why when you said, oh, we got to do that in Los Angeles. And I'm like, I don't know if it'd work in Los Angeles. I mean, you might be dancing by yourself the whole time.
Yeah, I even tried it here, and it's,
I
people,
saw that.
Most of people did not cooperate. I I had to edit and find, 1 or 2, 3 people that somehow but it's not normal.
But
And
it's
then,
like you said, we're stuck in this like little system we're in ourselves, and we are all children. We're all childlike. We all have it in us, but for some reason you care too much what other people think or whatever is in your mind. So, but there's those people are doing it in their home.
it's true, but you got to stay always, stay foolish. And if I was not in that state of mind, that I was so happy this whole journey, and for traveling 1 year, almost 1 year and a half in those remote places in humanitarian and impact initiatives, if it didn't make me that happy, and maybe I wouldn't be able to do it. But it was just an euphoric state, and such a happiness that it just felt natural. I didn't feel that I'm doing something uncomfortable or not natural. When you're so happy and you're enjoying being part of organizations and people that are doing good in the world, it changes you. So for me, it felt natural. It didn't feel like I'm doing something, deliberately, which I'm not supposed to do, or I'm like, it's fake. It was completely authentic,
Yeah, I want to talk about the past couple of years, since you were bringing that up, and that what you've been doing recently. You went to Africa, correct?
Correct.
And you said, what you were telling me before, you decided in your 40s, you wanted to reclaim what you were doing back 15 years ago. Where did this all come about? What was the decision? How did you plan it? And whatnot.
Yeah, well, I think, look, like I've mentioned, that experience back when I was in my 20s was so powerful that on one hand, it took a lot of energy from me, and it was, imagine that you got a dream, and some people don't know what they want to do or what is their dream, and that's even more challenging. But imagine that you know exactly what you want to do, and you know that this is what you're destined to do, and you know that, but still you're not doing it year by year, and you think about it. I was thinking about it on a daily basis. I was waking up in the morning and asking myself, why am I not doing what I'm meant to do, and why I'm still here? So on one hand, it could limit your day to day, and it takes time and space in your mind, which is not good. But on the other hand, something that happened 15 years ago and still is bothering you on that scale is a good thing, because if you would give up on it, so you would let go. And the fact that I didn't let go actually was controversial. It actually gave me hope on the other hand. So I was frustrated that nothing is happening all these years, but at the same time, because it was still bothering me on a daily basis, it gave me hope that it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it came about to the fact that I was sent home on leave without pay, and suddenly you have the opportunity to look at your life from outside and ask yourself, where is it going? What are you doing? And I think these two elements together, they started this chain reaction that, okay, it's scary. You're going to leave everything, your life, your friends, your job, to make a living, and you're going to fulfill your dream. But if, I started to do little steps that created momentum, and then suddenly this fear and anxiety of what will happen and what people saying, suddenly it takes less and less space. You give it its respect, but you are now gaining momentum towards what you wanted to do for 15 years. And this is how I find myself in the no return point, when I go to my CEO at the office and I tell him, boss, it's over. Mm-hmm. I'm leaving.
So it was a process then. It wasn't like one day you woke up and decided, let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a process. It was something that I've been thinking about it for years, but for many reasons, I didn't have the guts to do it because of expectations from you, what you're supposed to do, because you're going here into the unknown, because, you know, you have safety, you have a salary, you have comfortable life. You know, this is the exact opposite from getting out of your comfort zone, trying to grow and fulfill yourself. It always contradicts the fact that you have the rational and the emotion, and the heart tells you something, but the mind is telling you no. Stay here, you're not going anywhere.
Was it the pandemic then that really?
Yeah, the pandemic. The pandemic helped it a lot because I was just sitting and I was just asking myself, okay, what's going to happen in 2 years' time, in 5 years' time? You know, when you grow up, I don't know if you feel it. It's not a cliche. It's true. When you grow up, time goes by much faster, you know?
Yeah. I was just talking about that with a friend the other day. You know, I was like, when you're young, the days last forever. You know, as you get older, a blink of an eye, the day's already over. And it was just interesting because I had a conversation with a friend just yesterday about this, about how if you really want to do anything, you better do it now because 10 years will be past, 20 years. And like you said, 80 years old, and then you'll be too old to do anything. So.
Absolutely. And, you know, time is against us as well as, you know, even when I reach my 60s, which is going to be nothing, in less than 20 years, you are going to be physically much more limited to do things that now you might be able to do. And then you go 70s, 80s. So, yeah, that's the point is that, hey, it's never too late. You just go do it. And I applied for the Global Mercy, the biggest humanitarian ship in the world in Africa, to volunteer there. I didn't know if I would be accepted or not. That was my only, thing I knew about. And still, I didn't know if I'm accepted or not. And I knew 2 missionaries in Congo. That's it. So, in a way, I knew what I want to do. I knew how I want to fulfill myself, but it was an adventure. And that was also the exciting thing, that I didn't know what I'm getting into, but it's so true. When you follow your heart, follow your passion, like these amazing things happen to you. These amazing doors open to you. I remember just 3 days before I leave, I meet a good friend of mine, had his first son, and he brought a few friends, childhood friends, to the ceremony, and people heard about it. And like, I have a friend from school who is telling me, what are you, you're going to, okay, let's say you land now in Africa, okay, what do you do? Where do you go? He was like, talking like most of people, you are completely nuts. You lost it, you are on drugs or something. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? Okay, you landed now. Tell me, what are you going to do? So, this was the way you're in the environment and the people surrounding you. So,
were those your initial reactions? I would find, I don't know, I would, like, when you told me, I was like, go, that's a great thing. You should be doing that if that's what you want to do. I feel like people should be encouraging you if that's your passion and your dream. But did you find that more people were saying that's crazy?
There were really very few. That's why, like, when I was talking to you, some people, when they're on the same frequency, it's amazing and it's when it happens, it's amazing. But, I can count, 3, 4, 5 people like that. Most of the people from my workplace, most of the people, family, even close family, they looked at, what is he doing? Although with time, it completely has changed because they understood, this guy is happy. He's fulfilling his dream. He's like, they became jealous. In the beginning, they looked at you are strange. And at the end, they looked at, wow, I wish I could do what he was doing, actually.
Well, it's an interesting point because you have an idea, right? And a lot of, like, say, successful people have ideas, or creative people have ideas, but usually when you have that idea, it's not tangible. Nothing's happened. So people look from the outside, maybe thinking like, no, you can't do that. What are you going to do? So until you started posting these videos, what you're actually accomplishing, then people are like, oh, wow, he's actually doing it. Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you know what? And another thing really helped me, I remember, and this is maybe an advice for people who, who want to take the leap or want to follow what they're passionate about. Something that really helped me was I published a video. I was so, worried, should I or should I not? I just published a video about this is who I am. This is my life from 2007. This is what I did until now. I have this dream. I'm going to go for it. If any one of you, know about organizations and people on the ground that it's going to be worthwhile to meet, I would be more than happy. And just by publishing it, so it touched a lot of people because, I was talking from my heart and they looked at someone like you said, he's going after his dreams. And then the reactions and the leads that came because of that gave me a lot of confidence. And that was also something that was very, very powerful at that time, because when you are going mostly on your own, but you create something that resonates to others that even you don't know them on social media. So that's a powerful tool to actually gain support and feel that you're not completely alone.
Yeah, I think you just keep posting what you're doing, because there are people that will be inspired, impacted by it. Maybe not by the masses right away, but we need more good stories. As media and everything is so negative. All we hear is negative stories. So, I mean,
yeah. And one of the amazing things that happened were, like, I got random messages from a girl from Australia, Hannah, and she said, I didn't even know. And she said, look, I've been following you since day one in Africa, and you inspired me. I'm now in Uganda. I am in this orphanage with little children with HIV, and I left my job in Sydney for 6 months, and it was a lot thanks to you. And then I got another woman from the US that went to Thailand, and people I didn't even know, and that is so true, because people can see, hey, it's not the end of the world. Look at him. He actually, good things happened. It's a 50-50. If you want to believe that, it's going to be a bad decision that will bring you to bad places, it could be. But why wouldn't you think that, what, this step could be the most amazing and important thing you've done in your life, and it will open doors and take you to places you never thought about? No one knows. So you decide. It's your decision how you want to look at it. And it also showed other people, yes, we can. And I got 3 people, thanks to my personal journey, also joined the Global Mercyship and applied, and were accepted. So these are also, I keep these messages from them because it's really emotional to hear. I kept it in a special folder on my mobile phone to remind me that, there's also something about inspiring others and making a difference on the other side, not only on communities that are struggling. This is also a very big impact if you can, influence others.
Yeah, it's amazing what you're doing. So when you went to Africa, were you pretty much doing the same thing when you were doing 15 years ago in Papua New Guinea?
Yeah, well, so to be honest, I came in the beginning just as I want to be a sponge. I want to go to the most hardcore places, meet local grassroots level organization and people, just see what they're doing, why they're doing, their challenges, their struggle, what projects work well, what fail and why, and live in their conditions. And this is how it started. So I didn't give too much pressure on me to use my skills as a medical professional, as a medical engineer. I just wanted to meet the people on the ground and to feel them. And this is what I did in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And that was amazing. That's one of the hardest places in Africa, to be honest. So I started, everything after Congo was really easy in terms of what you come across in Africa, because Congo is hardcore. It's a very difficult country in a lot of ways. Safety, security, their history. But it was amazing. I went one organization by the other, by doors that came open to me, and I saw things not related to medical. Actually, I saw a woman that opened a school for young girls, well, the weakest link in society there, and they get married and give children at the age of 11, 12, and that's the end for them. They continue the cycle of poverty. But she takes them at the right time when they are 3 and 4, and she puts them in a school and give them nutrition and free education and access to kind of modern facilities in the poorest of the poorest places that you can imagine. And she's just saving lives. And they go through the whole education system like that. And she was inspirational. I visited her school. It's called Malaika, the organization, which is an angel in Swahili. And what she's doing is amazing. I went to see 2 brothers, one doctor and another, his younger brother is a lawyer. And they are respected. They have professions in East Congo, and they decided to start a clinic whereby the doctor treats women who were abused physically and sexually. It's one of the biggest problems in the world. It's called the capital, the rape capital of the world, that specifically in the eastern part. So the doctor treats them, and then he sends them to his lawyer, to his brother, and the brother fights for them in the courts, and also educates and empower them about basic human rights and what they are allowed and what the men not supposed to do, and how they can fight and stand on their rights, which was inspiring, because these people, they don't forget where they came from. And even though they established themselves, they decided, I'm going to define success not in the way society says that I'm supposed to be, a respected profession. No, I'm going to help as many women in those remote villages in poverty, as many women as possible. And that was truly inspirational. And projects in agriculture. I went into the bushland in the jungles of Congo, places that no one will ever go there as a tourist. But with the locals, I felt very safe. And, what really touched my heart was the fact that they saw a white man from Israel. They're Christians. They pray for Israel, and suddenly they pray for Israel before they pray for themselves. And suddenly, into this remote jungle in the middle of nowhere comes a man from Israel. So for them, it was like, my nickname was the little brother of cheeses. I even have a big bird and everything. But for them, it was a big thing, because someone cared. Someone came all the way from Israel, and just because I cared for them, it really touched their heart. And it was important for me also to make sure that hope is very fragile there. So, if they think that now the Messiah is here, it could be actually dangerous. So I told them, I'm here. I'm here to hear your struggles. I'm here to be your ambassador. And I promise that this is what I'll do. And I hope with God that things would become better for you. So over there, if there's no hope, you have kids that are going to get machine guns and fight wars that do not belong to them. And that was the first part. And the second part, I decided, okay, I'm ready now to start and use also my skills and make some impact. And then I shifted to Rwanda and Tanzania and Uganda. And over there, I was able, thankfully, also to do things that I felt like, wow, I'm using my set of skills and experience, and I'm part of something big that is changing lives of people. And that was amazing. That was the other half of my journey.
What were some of the things you were promising you'd make changes?
Well, in Tanzania, I joined an organization from Australia called Free02, and they have a quite a simple but smart technological solution that allows to have ongoing access to oxygen in remote places where you have oxygen concentrators. Usually they use electricity, but places where you don't have much electricity, it's the number one cause of death for children under 5. he was suffering from pneumonia with difficulty to breathe. And having access to oxygen is just a matter, if you have access, you will survive. If you don't have oxygen, you die. And they did an amazing thing. They started to install these systems in those remote places and saving lives. I just got the statistics for 2022. 297 kids were treated, and kids that probably will not make it out of 2,000 that were treated in general, about 300 people. It's a lot. And this brings me again to the fact that when you do something like that, and you know that you install the system with local people, that you empower them to install it, and you train the nurses how to treat the patients with the system, with the oxygen, and you leave that village knowing that this year tens of children, and over the years hundreds, will be alive thanks to that. How can you compare it with the job I had before? And you know what? No matter how much you pay me, get me a nice car, give me a huge salary, nothing can compare to the feeling that you are part of an organization of people, amazing people on the ground that are making a huge impact. So that was just, a euphoric feeling. The first system that I installed in Uganda, and then in Tanzania with the local people, we started to put in place in 12 health centers as well. And then I moved on to do a pilot with a Spanish foundation that uses 3D printers to print prosthetic arms to children without upper limbs. And I told them, hey, I've been following you on Instagram. You're amazing. Why do you don't do anything here in Tanzania? And they basically said, we don't know anyone on the ground that needs our help. We have no one, no connection. And I said, hey, I'm going now. I'm running in between all these tens, health centers in the most remote places in Tanzania. I would easily find people. And with one phone call, I got 2 kids, and I said, let's do a pilot. And I started, measuring them, getting them a story, and I sent them all the information. And they are a social business. They are doing custom-made prosthetic arms and providing it at no cost. And that was just incredible. So when I meet people like that who inspire me, I decided, you know what? I want to go to Madrid, to Spain, to see these guys, to see what makes them do that and why, and at the same time see the facilities and get the prosthetic arms with me. And it was amazing to meet them. At the end of the day, people who have choices to make, and they decide to do this and start a foundation, and again, they can get really good money. But, one of the girls there, Sophia, she tells me, yeah, I can get much more money elsewhere. But the fact that with what I'm doing here, I'm changing lives of little children, for me, it's priceless. And to hear that was just amazing. And I then flew back to Tanzania to give it to these 2 kids. And you see that not only changes the way of they're able now to function, to ride a bicycle, to grab things, but it changes their soul, because suddenly for the first time they feel more equal, more belong. Their kids are accepting them in a different way. To be a kid in Africa is a challenge as it is. Imagine if you are disabled. And that was just an amazing experience. And I'll give you a scoop here, because no one knows it yet. But I'm actually collaborating with them now on a bigger scale project. And I'll be heading in 1 week back to Tanzania, to those remote villages, to start and set up a database of tens and hundreds of people with need. And the idea is to train local people. So I will not need to leave my surrounding here, but local people will have the know-how to design, to print, and to reach those children and individuals who need it. So this is something really exciting that happened just in the past 2-3 months, and I'll be heading for 2 weeks really soon. So everyone who watches this must come on my social media and check it out. I'll be just showing you how it's like on the ground to start something that could be huge. I believe it's going to be huge, has huge potential. And this is something I'm very excited about. And I really look forward for that specific project. Yeah.
So this is at the moment, this is the next chapter in your next part of your life, I guess, right now, as of right now, this project.
Yeah. For me, it was important that this sabbatical year will have continuation. So it will put me in the path where I do what I love. And it's also really important when I told you, hey, no matter how much money you pay me or what car you give me in a job in the corporate world, I'm not saying that to underestimate the importance of money. Because if you're not doing it sustainably, if you cannot make a living, you are not going to be able to help other people. So my goal now is to be able actually to be involved in these sort of impact initiatives, but also in a way that I can make a living, sustain myself. This is the exact way how the Spanish people do it. They formed a social business. They have a business model and they can help so many people, but also they make a living. And I think that if I'll be able to showcase that from someone who was in the corporate and the private sector, and now is showing how you can actually live, a bit more modest, but with much more purpose, I hope that this will inspire other people to think beyond the fact that, I want to have these conditions and this salary and this car and start to think, maybe it's better to, settle for less, still live, respected life, but actually do something with a lot more purpose. Reduce a bit the profit, increase a lot the purpose. That's my message.
Well, I think if a lot of people live without purpose, or people are searching for that purpose for all their life and never find it. So, I think just doing as little as being involved with your community could be something people could do, right? Would you recommend?
Yeah. And what is important for me to say is that I don't want to be judgmental or anything like that. I am saying for people, follow your heart, what your heart tells you to do. For me, because of my journey, my heart told me this is what you need to do. This is what is your purpose to impact and empower and help others. But it could be for different individuals, anything. You can be like, what's your heart telling you is to be a violinist, or to play a piano, but you never had the time or you never do. So I think that if people, first of all, they look inside and what they're passionate about and what their heart tells them to do, and then when they do it, they're going to be much happier and much more satisfied. And then suddenly the people around them are going to be happier. And then I am sure that they'll find a way that with what they love to also impact others and help others. So, this is something that is important. I'm not here to say, if you're not leaving everything and going to help these people, you're not good. No. I'm just saying this is what my heart... My case study is when I followed my heart, amazing things happen. Each one has his own journey, his own heart. And I'm sure if you connect back to it, also good things will happen for others as a result of it.
Yeah. And you're also not saying like you just need to pack up and go to Africa and
and not everyone can do it. I understand that some people they have responsibilities, liabilities, family, and mortgage and all of that. But I'm trying to say that don't give up on. By the end of the day, it's not just about the numbers and chasing, the money to have a better standard of living. Sometimes you have to think about, okay, what price am I paying, which is not going to be, you cannot translate it to numbers, to money, but what price am I paying when I'm not happy, when I'm not doing what I love? How does that reflect on my children that I bring up, on my relationship with my wife? So these things, you need to think about it, and I think you can do it in a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so drastic, but anyone, by the end of the day, it connects back to the heart and also to the child inside of you, the things that make you happy like a child, and all these things. We forget about them because of life is too bigger than us in reality, and chasing something we don't know what we're chasing, and then time goes by and it's gone.
And what is your vision over the next 10 years? If you were looking forward in time, what would you like to accomplish more, or like to see that change? I mean, obviously you won't know where you're going to be, but I'm sure you have an idea now. More.
Yeah, I definitely want to continue to get inspired by what people are doing, and organizations and individuals, like what I'm doing now with the Spanish Foundation, and promote more initiatives like that, that are actually benefiting poor and forgotten communities and empowering them. But at the same time, I really see a huge opportunity in also trying to increase awareness, and exactly what we were talking about for people on the other side of the world, in the Western world, to show opportunities how you can add some purpose to your life, as a company, as an individual, as a family. What an amazing way to bring up your children when you teach them or you get them involved in something like that. It puts everything in proportion. Our society, we have so many advancements in health technology. There's so much that we can get here, but we went so much backwards in terms of appreciating the small things, happiness, what makes us happy. So we still got a long way to go, and the people in Africa can teach us so much about it, and they're so much advanced in that aspect. So I think that in different ways, get corporate world, private sector, individuals, family, communities involved in these sort of activities that are benefiting and with a purpose for others. I think this is a huge potential, because me as an individual, I have a limited amount of support or help I can give to someone. In this year, I can quantify how many people I've helped and what impact it was made. But imagine if you start a movement, and in this movement, you got companies, you got individuals, you got people, you got students, academy, everyone putting half an hour, and if it's a movement, if it's masses of people, so the positive impact is exponential. And I think in nowadays and age, with the fact that internet is almost accessible in the most remote places, mobile phones penetrating into places you never thought, remotely even, you can be doing amazing things. I was working in ophthalmology in the medical device sector. I met this girl. Her mother died from HIV. A guy from church adopted her, and she had a very, very bad infection in her eye. And I just took a video and a photo, and I sent it to a friend of mine who was a very respected surgeon in Madrid, an expert in her field. And she just told me, look, she will soon get blind. The solution is really easy. This is the antibiotics she needs to take for 3 weeks. And she will, she will not lose her eyesight. And in a press of a button, of a WhatsApp message, you save the eyesight of someone. So what I'm trying to say that today is you don't need to leave everything and go into the jungles. Today, in a press of a button, an individual, you don't even need to be a doctor. That's a whole discussion that I can tell you about how I experienced people that have nothing to do with medicine made huge impact in this journey. There are really ways you just need to be aware, to care, to be compassionate. And sometimes there isn't the person there that is telling them, hey, look, here, this is the need. You don't need much to do with this. Are you going to join me? And this is what I'm saying about creating a movement, a platform, using social media for good. I think there's a lot of things that are like superficial, bad news, politics, this, all the time. Why don't you highlight people like the guy from Spain, like this woman from Papua New Guinea, and inspire others to become like them? So I think this is where the great potential is. And I'm looking at ways, to develop also there. To be an influencer for good, to create a platform, to create partnerships, collaborations, to bring, what we are fortunate to have back there. And trust me, when you get involved with that, they also teach you a lesson or two about life. They have been, in a lot of ways, much more advanced than us when it comes to the simple, basic things.
All right, man. Thank you for your time. I could go on and listen to you more and get more in depth, but we'll have to do this again, definitely, and touch base down the road and catch up with you. But
absolutely,
I really appreciate you sitting down with me, telling your story. You're doing amazing work, and everything you're doing, I love, and I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you. And it's really touching,
Thank you, brother. I love you back. It's amazing to see you back after all these years and all the support that you are giving behind the scene. All these people that it touches their heart, it touches me back. So it's like fueling positive energy. And by all means, if there are people that are interested to hear more or to take that leap, I'm really accessible via social media, Instagram, Facebook, Achi Kushnir. And even if you want to see a little bit of things from on the ground and in real time, join me as well. And I'm sure it's going to be worthwhile. And
have you started YouTube?
No, I need to.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, unfortunately, you got to use all the platforms, but I think YouTube is a powerful platform as well for the stuff you're doing. But a little funny note before we end this, how we met. We are amateur tap dancers.
This is what has brought us together. Yes. And here we are 18 years later because of that tap 101 class at ASU. Who would have thought, huh?
Yeah. And now I see the moves continued into the villages.
Yeah, into the African kind of tribal African style. I still have the basics from then. Yes.
Did you keep your shoes?
No, they're lost somehow.
Yeah, I think I got rid of mine. I should have just kept them as a nostalgic. I started practicing again.
Somewhere in Australia, I couldn't bring all my stuff from Australia to Israel.
Oh, but you have them somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Back in the days.
Thank you so much.
All right, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for everything, and big hug from here.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
Tasty Tuesdays! Thanking you for your time this time. Until next time, we'll see you again next week, same time, same channel.